All right, this one's going to set a record for the shortest lesson in this entire unit, probably in this entire course. We only have 2 slides to get through. So we are talking about ionization energy and then just really briefly touching on half reactions. So ionization energy is referring to the amount of energy that it takes to remove an electron from an atom to be able to turn that atom into an ion. Okay, there's always some level of energy that is required to remove an electron. What you're going to find though is that some atoms takes more energy to remove an electron than others. And if you think about it, kind of should make sense, right? You should be able to recognize that something like sodium, to gain a full valence shell, it wants to lose an electron. So although it's still going to require energy, it's not going to require that much energy. Then if you look at something like fluorine, right, it has 7 valence electrons. It wants to gain 1. It does not want to lose 1. So if you try to take an electron away from that, that is going to require a lot of energy. The other thing you're going to find is that for some atoms to turn into ions, they actually have to lose multiple electrons. And what you find is that removing the first one is going to require a certain amount of energy. Removing the second one is going to require more. And removing a third, if you actually have to, is going to require even more energy. So the amount of energy we have to remove is going, not the amount of energy we have to, the amount of energy we have to put in to remove the electron is going to depend on a couple of different things. So after this lesson, you're going to be working on an assignment where you're going to be graphing ionization energies. And you should be able to start to recognize some patterns and trends with respect to what kind of atoms is it easier to remove electrons, which kind of atoms is it harder to remove electrons, and you should be able to recognize, based off of octet rule and how many valence electrons it has, why we see the patterns that we see. You're going to find electronegativity is also going to come into play as to why we see what we see, as will the size of the atom, because that's going to determine how easy or hard it is to remove that electron. So when we talk about ionization energy and removing electrons, this basically brings us into half reactions. We don't spend much time on half reactions in Chem 20. We do spend a lot of time on them in Chem 30. We get into redox. But half reactions are basically just showing you the removal or addition of an electron. So most of the time when we're talking about half reactions, we're talking about ionization. We are talking about removing an electron from something. So we're taking the atom, we're turning it into a positively charged ion because we are removing that electron, okay? So, yeah, that is this lesson. You now need to go work on that assignment. It is going to be collected. So if you can make sure that your graphs are all properly labeled and titled, that you use rulers, to make sure that they actually follow all the things that we want to see in graphs, that would be your next step.